I'm really delighted to welcome a number of panel guests this evening. So we've got Claire Harris from Cambridgeshire County Council, Dominika Karpowicz from Mind in Cambridgeshire, and we've also got Sam Feeney from Centre 33. Just want to put a big thank you out to our IT students who have put the IT infrastructure together for this evening's webinar. So thank you very much to them. We will have an opportunity to ask questions, so please make sure that you use the instant messenger system to ask your questions, and then either throughout or at the end of the webinar we will make sure that we answer your questions. So let's get going. So I'm going to hand over to Claire from Cambridgeshire County Council. Hi. And Claire, hello, good evening.
Hi, thank you, Jeremy. I'm Claire Harris. I work for Cambridgeshire County Council in Public Health, and I'm the lead for mental health promotion work. I'm really excited to be here this evening for this webinar. The session today is on stress, mental health and relationships. So we're working through, we've got a great panel with us, and we're working through lots of different information. So we will be looking at what stress is to start with. We will look at the Stress Less campaign, which is being run by Mind in Cambridgeshire. We've got some feedback from one of the Stress Less champions who are part of that campaign. And we will also look at some of the local services that can support you around your mental health and your well-being. So just to set the context to start with, this week is National Mental Health Awareness Week, and the theme around that is relationships. So it's really the idea that our communication with other people and our relationships are fundamental to our well-being. So we don't function and we don't flourish without really good relationships. We also have the 1U, which is a national public health campaign aimed at adults between the ages of 40 and 60, and that's got national information. You can do a national quiz, and it gives you tailored information around making lifestyle changes and how that can benefit your health generally, but also specifically around your mental health. So it has tips on there around managing stress and also managing your sleep. Our last webinar that we did a few months ago focused on mental health and wellbeing, and that was more specifically for adults, so for parents and teachers. Today's webinar is more for young people, so we've got tailored advice really for young people around managing stress and managing exams today. And yeah, that's what the session will be focusing on. First of all, we're going to look at what stress is. We'll pop all of these up. So it's the feeling of being under too much mental or emotional pressure and feeling like that you can't cope. And stress has a big impact on how you're feeling, how you're thinking, how you behave, and also on your physical body. So what happens when we are stressed is that we get hormones that are released within the body, and that's that fight or flight response. So we get adrenaline released in the body. Once the stress disappears, that response also settles down. But if we're under ongoing stress that keeps going, that stress response will stay in the body. And we then experience stress symptoms like dizziness, headaches, feeling very anxious, and not feeling hungry. So we need to make sure we're managing stress, and there are lots of things that we can do to do that. So we'll just move on to this model called the stress bucket, and this is a model that helps us understand how stress can build up in the body and how we can manage stress. So if you see on the slides, you've got the stress bucket model. All of us have a bucket, which is our vulnerability or our resilience to stress, and this can actually change in size. So this shows how much stress we're able to manage. Everything that's thrown at us during life is coming into the top of that bucket, so the arrows coming into the top. So that's the level of water is our level of stress. We'll all probably recognise a point in our lives where we felt overwhelmed, and that will be where the stress is built up or the water level is built up right to the top, and we feel that we can't cope anymore. And that's when we have a kind of emotional snapping, or we have a crisis point in terms of our mental health and our well-being. You will notice also on this model that there's a tap at the bottom, and there are ways of letting the water out, so letting out that stress. And maintaining more of a balance in terms of our well-being. So it's really important to think about what good coping strategies we have in order to release stress, manage stress, and it's important as a young person but also as a family to think about what coping strategies you have. So this may be exercising, eating well, making sure we're taking time out and relaxing. Okay. So just some final tips on stress really. Stress is a natural response to challenging situations like exams, so it can be helpful. We all need a certain amount of stress to get up and out in the mornings, but too much stress can have a big impact on our well-being, and we said it's really important to manage that. It can stop you doing the things you really want to do, and if stress is ongoing, it can build up to lead to mental health problems like depression and anxiety. So it's really important that we equip young people to manage stress, and that's really why we're here and doing this webinar today. So I'm going to hand over to Dominika from Mind, who's going to talk about the Stress Less campaign. Dominika.
Thanks, Claire. Yeah, I'm really delighted to be here as well. So as Claire said, my name's Dominika Karpowicz. I'm Mental Health Campaigns Officer at Mind in Cambridgeshire, and I oversee a number of campaigns, one of which is the Stress Less campaign. So this is a pilot county-wide stress busting campaign to help young people cope with exams and school stress, and it was launched during National Revision Week in April, and it's run by Mind in Cambridgeshire, and it's funded by Cambridgeshire County Council and Peterborough City Council. So as I just said, the campaign seeks to empower students aged 12 to 18 to find positive ways of coping with school and exam stress. And so what the key messages of the campaign are, they kind of focus on the message Take 5, Feel Better. So equipping students with simple strategies that they can use over 5 weeks to feel less stressed, and we also encourage them to create their own stress less action plan where they identify small changes that can really make a difference to their well-being. And once they've kind of identified these changes, we also encourage them to get creative on social media and share what they're doing with the hashtag Take5 challenge. So yeah, we're hoping to see the many wonderful things you're doing on social media. So this is the front cover of our leaflet that we've produced for young people, and so we asked young people across the county, how do you feel when you're stressed out? So as you can see, a few examples are I feel sick, angry and moody, low and tearful, tired and worn out. So we're hoping you're feeling a bit more positive now after this campaign's been launched. But you can also download this leaflet on our website as well, www.mindingcams.org.uk, and that kind of points you to some places if you're still feeling a bit stressed.
Okay, we'll move to the next slide. So this is about the Take 5 challenge.
Yes. So the Take 5 challenge is, as I said, changing 5 small things over 5 weeks to prevent the pressures of exams getting overwhelming for you. So you can also download, we've got an action plan, you can download this and an ideas list for inspiration from our website again, and you can record your progress as you go along.
Should we have a look at that?
Yeah.
So you've got, this is the action plan.
Yeah, so that's what the action plan looks like. So as you can see at the top, you can write each change that you've decided to make, and then at the end of each week, or you can tick if you've done it, but don't feel too much pressure, obviously, to complete them all, because that's again, it goes against the campaign. We don't want to stress you out more. And then you tick at the end of each week, you score at the end of each week how you feel. So 1 is no stress and 5 is overwhelmed. And then that kind of should help to balance out and make you feel better.
And we've got some examples here, haven't we?
Yeah, so so these are examples from each category of the ideas list that we've got on our website, and this is based on the 5 Ways to Wellbeing, which is by a model by the New Economics Foundation for Mental Health and Wellbeing, and kind of we've adapted it a bit. So I'll just read out 1 or 2 from each section. So stay positive. You can focus on what you can do, not what you can't. So that can really help you feel better. Start planning. So maybe write a to-do list. Get physical. So avoid technology perhaps before bed, which will help you sleep better. Connect with others. So talk someone close to you, someone you trust perhaps. And time off. So obviously remember to take time to do things you enjoy. So just to balance out what your revision, and so you kind of stay on top of things.
Yeah, that's really important, isn't it? This is one of the posters from the campaign.
So this is one of our many images and posters that we've created, kind of just a nice positive touch that you can share on social media with your friends, kind of make someone's day. You can also print them out. Some of our champions have printed them out, put them around their schools and colleges. Just a little reminder. And another key aspect of our campaign is our Stress Less Champions. So these are students aged 14 to 18 who've actually come forward and want to promote the campaign and take 5 challenge strategies with other students, and also signpost their peers to help and support when required.
Okay, yeah, we've. I think the Stress Less Champion is a great idea across the county, and we've had a number of students who have benefited from this. They're currently doing the training at the moment to become Stress Less Champions.
Yeah.
And I think just some feedback from one of the young people who is involved in the training. She said that she's able to support friends when they're stressed by talking about the Take 5 challenge. So that's really about promoting actually all that wonderful work about how we can manage that stress. And also she said that she'd created a study timetable so that she felt more organised, but made sure that she also incorporated time for relaxation. So I think there's some really positive aspects about that. I think for that key thing, we keep talking about tiredness and that link with being anxious and stressed, and actually it's about that about making sure that individuals do go to bed earlier. So that's something that this individual really realised was making that difference. So it's a really great initiative across the county.
I was going to add, sorry, that we have actually got 18 Stress Less Champions across the county. So that's brilliant news. And they have been spreading the word within their colleges. I know they've had over 100 conversations about the campaign with their peers and also other staff members and friends and family.
It's fantastic.
And I know some of them have also set up mentoring sessions, which is brilliant.
That's great. And we have another poster.
Yeah, another nice positive note to end on. So think positive, and positive things will happen.
That's lovely.
Okay, we're now going to move over to look at some of the local support services that are available. So I'm really pleased to welcome Sam Feeney from Centre 33 to this evening's webinar. So welcome, Sam. I'm going to hand straight over to you.
Okay, yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah, I'm Sam. I'm one of the counsellors and project workers at Centre 33, and I'm based in Huntingdonshire. Claire mentioned the stress bucket and the tap at the bottom of it, and Dominika, in your presentation, mentioned the importance of talking to somebody when you do start feeling that stress and that, because it's very easy for that to start feeling quite quickly overwhelming if you're keeping it to yourself. So finding someone that you can trust to talk to offload perhaps sort of like how you're feeling, and that is a really, really good thing to do, so you don't feel so isolated. Many of us are lucky enough to have sort of like people around us who we can offload to, people that we can trust and that. But sometimes it can feel a little bit it might be a bit embarrassing to talk to somebody that we know personally. We might feel that they're a bit stressed and we don't want to overwhelm them as well. Or sometimes it might just be that the stress has been going on and on and on, and you might be feeling sort of like quite down with it or very anxious about that as well. And going to talk to somebody who's trained and qualified to listen without judging you, to listen really to what your problem is, and that is really helpful. And that's where we come in. We're one of a number of listening counselling organisations. Centre 33 has been running now for around about 30 years in Cambridge, but it's in this last year we've been working out in Huntingdonshire now. The organisation also supports young carers. We have counsellors in a number of schools around the Cambridge area as well. We're now delivering some sessions in the college, in Huntingdon Regional College as well. It's important that you know that if you go and see a counsellor, if you come and see us, it's you that's in the driving seat of that. It's really important that you feel that it's your choice to come and talk to a professional. It's also important that you know that what you say to us as well is going to be confidential. What you tell us, and that unless we are concerned about a serious risk of harm to you or somebody else, and that then we would talk to you about who we might need to share that with. The counselling that we do is short term. So it's usually sort of like around 6 sessions, and that nothing's going to stop you coming back again in the future to access that as well. And we work from 13 to 25, all the way up to your 26th birthday. In Huntingdon, we're based at the Maple Centre, which is just 5 minutes really from the college here. We do a drop-in on Fridays there between 1:30 and 3:30. We work at Huntingdon Youth Centre on Sallerbush Road on Thursdays after school, so we're there sort of between 4 and 7, and we also run a service out in St Neots as well. There are a number of other services as well across the county, and you can look at our website and that to find those. So yeah, I think
we've got some of those. We've got some of the dates and
absolutely
venues on the slide,
on the slide, yeah.
And the website there for
yes,
Thank you,
how
Sam.
to get in touch.
That's great. Also, we just in case anyone is experiencing more severe problems with their mental health, if you are concerned, it's really important that you talk to somebody. As Sam mentioned, if you are feeling suicidal or you're having any issues with self-harm, it's really important that you access your GP or go to your accident emergency department. We also have a really good website called Stop Suicide. So we have a Stop Suicide pledge campaign across Cambridgeshire that has some really useful information on what to do if you're feeling suicidal, but also how to support someone if you are supporting someone else who's suicidal. The number there also for the Samaritans and for Childline, so all of that's on the slides. We have a final slide with other agencies that can be really supportive, particularly for young people. So some really good information for young people, parents and professionals on Young Minds. They've got different sections for different audiences on there. Action for Happiness, we've got Centre 33 on there. Living Life to the Full and Mood Gym are online cognitive behavioural therapy packages that people can access, and some really good packages by the Mental Health Foundation if you look on the Mental Health Foundation website. We've recently launched a website across Cambridgeshire on children and young people's mental health, and that's called Keep Your Head. That's www.keep-your-head.com. That's got some really useful local information around mental health and wellbeing for children, young people, teachers, carers and professionals as well. So we've covered lots of information in the last 20 minutes. This is just a summary of what we've covered. So we've looked at stress, how that can affect all of us and how we can manage it. We've looked at the Stress Less campaign, the specific campaign around supporting young people with exam stress. We've looked at tips, including talking, getting advice, particularly from Centre 33, and local support services that are out there. We've got another poster from the Stress Less campaign, a lovely one which is again available to print or also on social media. And I think we're now moving across to questions and answers.
Yes, absolutely. Gosh, well, we've covered quite a lot this evening, so thank you everyone. I've got a number of questions coming in, so I'll make sure I ask the panel those. So the first question which has come in, so thank you very much for this question, is I'm feeling so stressed with my exams, I can't think straight. What can I do? So what advice would we give to this person who's finding it difficult during this exam time?
Yeah. I think the first point really around that is to make sure that they're looking after themselves, so emotionally and physically. So that involves, we've talked already a bit about sleep, making sure they're eating really well, making sure they're getting some exercise. It's really important. There's a lot of evidence now that shows that physical activity and exercise is really beneficial for your mental health and your well-being. So that kind of self-care, but also if anyone's feeling particularly stressed, the key thing to kind of calm down is around breathing. So it's about calming your breathing down. It's really important to, sometimes we're not breathing correctly, but we don't realise. So if we're a little bit stressed, our breathing can be quite shallow and quite fast, and it's really important to slow that down. One of the techniques we can use is called the hand. So I'll show you how we can use the hand. So what it involves, yes, we're going to all have a go. It's just tracing the outline of your hand, and when you take your finger up, you take a breath in. And when it goes down, you take a breath out. So a breath in and a breath out.
That's very effective.
In.
Yeah, it's great.
And out. And we should be slowing the out breath as well to make it calm ourselves. In, out, in, and out. So we do that one way and then retrace the hand the other way.
Okay.
And it's really important to slowly calm the breath and calm the out breath as well.
There's something quite soothing about actually touching
Yes.
like that as well, actually. Just connecting with yourself, I think.
I think the connection, also the distraction from other things that are going on as well, and the sort of focus, physical focus on touching the hand is really useful.
Because it's one of those things with stress, isn't it? When everything starts bubbling up and that, and it feels like your body's a bit out of control. But actually, one thing to remember is that probably the one thing you can consciously control is your breathing.
Yeah.
So,
I was going to mention, sorry to
No,
interrupt.
it's fine, no, it's
There's
fine.
also a square breathing exercise that the Stress Less campaign's brought out, and it's more, it's more discreet. So if you want to do it in an exam, some champions have fed back that it's actually really useful in an exam to calm them down. And that's also on the website, so you can see more clearly what to do. But it's basically,
And that's about tracing a square.
yeah, but you don't do it; you just do it in your head.
Yes.
Easier for exams.
Yeah.
There's lots of things you can do in your head like that, isn't there, actually?
That's
Yeah.
great.
So that might be good as well.
Good. So some really practical advice here as well. So I think that's really important, because I think the next question that I'm going to just come in is around not having enough time left to revise. So actually, what can you do? So actually, when people are actually thinking, gosh, actually I don't have time to prepare for the exam tomorrow or after the weekend. Actually, what advice would we give them?
Well, that's sort of like when you start getting into that, your deadline is looming and that, and then you're sort of like your heart is going and you're feeling sort of like that, and there's that temptation then to sort of like to think, okay, I don't need to sleep. I'll just sort of like keep cramming it in and keep working, keep cracking on. And that actually is the wrong thing really to do, because you get yourself into that state where you could sort of like, we've all probably experienced those moments where your mind goes blank in the moment and that, and because our bodies are really just sort of like up against it. So sleeping, making sure that you sleep well, actually, and particularly so that you dream, so that when you sleep you dream as well. I mean, sometimes we don't remember when we dream, but we are, because your brain is actually there's evidence that's shown this now from the scientists and that, where we do sleep and when we're dreaming, that's actually embedding in what we've already learned. So usually, when we're learning things and that, we think that it's just what we're reading, but actually our brains are making sense of that while we're sleeping as well. And so there's a lot of learning that goes on when you're not really consciously aware of it. So making sure that your sleep hygiene is good, and perhaps doing something to ease off your stress if you need to, and that, just to relax before sleep and that, so stress balls or anything that might work for getting out that stress when you need to, and that, yes, just taking time to switch off machines before bedtime and that, and just sort of like letting yourself naturally just
Are there any other things that, I think that's a really good one actually, like switching off devices, but are there any other ways that people can prepare for good sleep?
I think the Mental Health Foundation has a whole really good leaflet on sleep hygiene, but it includes things like making sure we're not drinking caffeine late in the evening, making sure we're not having a big meal late, but also things you can do to make your environment more relaxed, making sure you've got fresh air, a tidy bedroom, no devices in the bedroom, like we said about cutting devices out earlier on, because even if you can get off to sleep, if you've been using devices right up to going to bed, that can disturb your sleep in the middle of the night as well.
And it's important to make with caffeine and that, like fizzy drinks like cola and things like that, also contain caffeine too. And if you're drinking a lot of fluids before you go to bed as well, then you'll wake up more sort of like to go to the toilet and things, which but it's obviously it's important to have a little bit of water and that, but just make sure it's sort of like some sips really, to, rather than overdoing it.
Well, I think that's some great advice about preparing to sleep well in preparation, particularly when people are concerned about not having enough time left to revise. I think we've got time for one more question, and the question is, I keep getting teased about trying too hard and revising too much, and it's really getting this person down. How can they stop that from happening? I guess it's really about feeling a bit teased around actually, preparing for exams or assessments.
I think the important thing with any type of, teasing or bullying is that person does speak to somebody about it. So whether that's speaking to a parent or a colleague, a friend, or somebody at college, it's really important to have that conversation to just say they're feeling that stress and they are being bullied. Yeah.
And it's sort of particularly if you might have been experiencing other bullying as well. Very often, these things can come in sort of like groups and that, and particularly if you're being bullied for an aspect of who you are as well. Perhaps around race or sort of your sexuality or perceived how people are seeing you. That can really sort of like get you down and that. So absolutely, the importance of talking to somebody about that and remembering that it's not you as well. That it's often sort of like people do tease and bully and that because they're very insecure about themselves. So try and sort of like keep that in your mind as well. But remember that you're not on your own with that.
And I guess to not be put off from studying as well.
No, I was going to say,
if you're doing that, not to be put off the things that you want to achieve.
Yeah.
And there may be some of the tips within Stress Less would help as well. Some of those 5 ways would help you kind of manage your stress.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Great. Gosh, well, thank you very much. Well, we're coming to the end of this evening's webinar, so we just want to thank you all for joining us. I do hope that you found this a really useful session. We've got some follow-up information which can be found at the following link, which is on the screen, at cambridgeshireinsight.org.uk. So please do have a look at that. It's got all the links to the different agencies and charities that we've mentioned this evening and others. And also you'll be able to access a copy of this webinar. So once again, thank you very, very much to our panel
Thank
for all of your contributions, and thank you for joining us.